Alrighty, this is just a little progress update. I'll start by one comment or conversation that I've been having with a buddy of mine, Pivotal, one of the members of our growing AI community, who was saying that he's looking at adding a banner here on a bit of software that he uses for his streaming. So just a quick one here. I have set it up as an image. Which you can, I'm using OBS, by the way, which is a free piece of software. It works both on Windows and Mac. I'm on a Mac, but I'm assuming that most people are going to be on a Windows machine. But here in Image, you can add an image by selecting one of your sources here. And there's a couple of configurations that you can do, I think, do you right-click? In transform, I think, or rotate. So you can rotate it. I've also done an opacity drop because it was very bright and I didn't want it to take away too much from the main display. But also my video, I think I dropped the opacity down on that one as well. So I'm also not overly bright in the image. Speaking of which, I have to turn my light on. For Mac users, I think OBS has been a little bit Mac unfriendly until recently. I notice now that you have macOS audio capture. I'm using a lavalier little clip-on mic. And in my audio capture, I've set it to take the input of my little microphone. That's something that I've been working to improve on, is getting better audio quality. I had to play with the settings. It's a DJI mic, so you have to give it a lot of permissions. I'm not fully comfortable with the permissions that it was asking for because it said I need access to pictures and videos for some reason, but I had to do the software update as well. So a little progress update. My animation project is coming along. I'm getting some good stuff. A little preview of what's going on there. So I'm hoping to, I've still got a fair way to go, and as I've expressed before, I did this thing called a rip reel a long time ago. And I use inspiration from different project materials, a lot of sources from movies and game cinematics and stuff that inspire moments. So this is a little action montage that I'm working on now, and then there'll be call it Act 2. So Act 1 is my setup of the world, the situation. We establish what's going on. Act 2 is a little action montage. And then we're going to go to Act 3, which is the introduction of new players on the battlefield, new concepts. Yeah, so this is primarily just being used as inspiration for the following story beats. Normally, I would have a script to start with, and I'd get my storyboards, and then I'd generate the things, but I'm kind of going along with this one. I decided to just freehand this one or go freeform on this one because I just wanted to kind of make it up as I went along. And there's a lot of inspiration that I'm getting from it as I go along as well. So here's my Higgsfield node-based workflow in the canvas, which is coming along slowly. But what I am going to do is I'm going to stop working in Higgsfield for a while because I am going to have a gig coming up which is going to make my time very limited, and I have been very interested in exploring what's becoming the new meta, supposedly an agentic workflow using a tool called InVideo. So dropping my Higgsfield subscription for a month. I've been just getting the month-by-month subscriptions, even though they incentivize you to go the full year. I don't want to get locked into something for a full year because things are changing and evolving so fast that it doesn't really make sense for me to say, you're my dedicated AI solution now, because in a month or two, there'll be a new one, maybe a better one. And I need to explore and I need to keep playing with what the current meta is, what the creators are doing. The alternative is that if I do end up going back to a node-based workflow, I'm going to possibly consider Comfy UI because it gets me around some of the safety issues that I'm getting with failed renders, even in Higgsfield. Let me see if I can find an example. Yeah, so all these red things are failed renders. I don't know why. Higgsfield doesn't actually tell me why. It doesn't even say that it's a violation of some policy. I've been getting a few IP flags, and running your nodes through Comfy UI locally, I believe, eliminates a lot of that issue. I'd still think that your information gets pinged over to a server somewhere overseas or in some data server in your local city or country. But I think it should be a lot more relaxed, especially if you end up using those blurred depth maps that I was demonstrating in another video. The problem and the cheeky part of Higgsfield, yeah, they're doing a C Dance 2.0 promotion here. But the problem that I have with Higgsfield is initially when I enacted the request to unsubscribe from Higgsfield, they had a little message. They've updated it now, they've changed it, but they had a little message saying we will immediately have to delete all of your content. And that's scary for any creators who think, oh, I'm going to lose my assets and all that kind of stuff. It is possible for you to still download all your stuff. Don't be afraid of canceling your subscription. Just make sure you download all your stuff before you leave them. At the end of the day, what are you going to lose? You're going to lose your prompts. A lot of that is probably stored in another solution, and I think it's unfair for a service provider to delete your stuff. I get it in the case of Higgsfield. Flow are pretty good about keeping your legacy material in your projects. But I would say don't be afraid of deleting or having your stuff deleted so long as you've backed it up first. So on the 23rd, I'm going to get a little reminder, an email reminder to pull the trigger on that, and I'm going to try another solution for a little while. I may end up coming back to Higgsfield, but we'll see. So it's a bit cheeky to scare you into, yeah, here we go. Canceling a subscription will result in immediate loss of access to premium features at the end of your current billing period. This action cannot be undone. And then if you cancel the subscription, you'll get a thing saying we're going to delete all your stuff. So just make sure that you download it all. But I have to play with other solutions for two reasons. One is I need to know if there's anything better. I don't want to get locked into something and feel like I'm missing out on another solution. The other thing is my time is going to become a little bit more limited moving forward with another gig coming up. It may only be a short stint, we'll see. But I'm currently working in a very granular way where I'm doing it shot by shot, and that gives me a really good element of control in my work. The problem is because of time, so I'm going to need a solution that will help just generate footage for me. Again, my strength is in editing, not necessarily prompt engineering. There's been another small evolution to my prompting structure or architecture. If I go back to my canvas, go to my Agnes Dei project, which is my animation. So as I go along, what I'm doing now is not necessarily relying too much on the Notebook LM or the gem, because I think it's latched onto some information where it almost forces or locks in certain descriptions of characters or locations, and the prompts it's generating are a little bit locked in. So what I've discovered is I have my style prompts, I have my negative prompts, and negative prompts are quite important even in seed dance. And then I do my prompt just trying to direct it with my own words. And I'll show you an interesting shot that I've been working on where I've introduced a kind of like a battlefield. And what's really interesting here is that there's a certain limit to how much information you can put into a Gen AI video, how many background characters and how much you can have that goes on in a shot. And if there are a lot of moving parts, let's say, or a lot of characters and background stuff going on, the video model almost hits a kind of a limit, call it a render limit. So if it's a simple thing with only a couple of characters, you get a really good animation result on those two characters, call them your heroes. your background NPCs or extras, if you want to call them that, you'll find that the ability for the model to animate those background elements becomes lesser. And that can be okay, because a lot of the time, if you're looking at what's going on in the background and not looking at what's happening in the foreground, well, then you're not telling the right story, you know. But for a wide establisher, and generally you want to start wide and then come in closer and then come in closer. So I guess it's a very traditional filmmaking technique, is introduce the scene wide, then come into the characters to establish who's in the scene, then go in on specific characters for dialogue. And even in combat, once you're in combat, you're kind of going from mids to closes. You want to be visceral, you want to be inside the fight, you want to be dynamically moving your camera around the fight. You want the fight to be always in motion and always moving, which is actually really difficult to achieve and direct through cameras. You want to be able to cover it from multiple angles as well. So you got to be careful with the environment that you pick. For this particular establisher, let's say, what I wanted to kind of direct was, we start on a wide battle. You see an alien mech. I can't remember what I called him, but this is the guy, and I took essentially the Ronin, the alien Ronin. I took one of the spaceship concepts because they're all tentacly and they have a particular kind of look or design. And I wanted to create like a mech. I'm introduced. So that's another thing that I'm doing with my arc. I talked about how a rom-com has a particular kind of arc, right? So it's guy meets girl, guy loses girl, guy gets girl back, and they all live happily ever after. It's an up, down, up, and then sort of sideways kind of story. With what I'm doing here, I guess it's a rising, 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 fall, reset. And then you have to kind of amplify the rise again, fall, reset, and then you crescendo into the ultimate peak. You know, that's when the action and the full resolution of the thing happens. So in every act or in every storytelling process, I guess, you end up with 3 acts. Your first act is to set you up, the second act is the story, the third is the finale, the final battle, let's say. So that's kind of what I'm doing for this one. And I'm introducing, you know, I set it up, my world is burned, I'm at war, do a little action montage, and then reset. Introduce the new players in the field of battle. So we up the stakes, and then reset, and then final stakes. You know, that's the final thing that's got to wow the audience, that leaves you on a high or hyped up for more. So that's kind of where I'm at process and workflow wise, and thoughts about what I'm going to be doing next. I might even start getting into the InVideo, just because it's a weekend and I've got a bit of time to see if I can set it up so that while I'm on a project, I'm not having to worry too much about that, and I can get home, do little bits and pieces. Yeah, so Comfy UI is something that I'm going to be looking into as well, because it is the node-based workflow. Now, it offers you 2 ways of working. One is local for power users. So what that means is, I think it's a great way to be able to get around a lot of the safety and policy problems that we're having with generating some of the shots that we're trying to generate. There is a cloud-based version of it, which might be problematic, but it's much easier to set up. It's a bit more expensive on the subscription. I don't know if I'll be running it locally, because I am terrified of burning my CPU, my processor on my laptop. I've heard some horror stories of even professional grade systems going down because of the intense amount of render power that they need in the RAM. I reckon I've got a good solid silicon chip in my laptop, and I've got about 48 gigs of RAM, but I think realistically my laptop is not designed as a render farm or a renderer. So I'm going to probably use the cloud-based option. And the cloud-based option, I believe that they're running on the best quality NVIDIA processors, and setting it up is a lot easier because it comes with all the connectors already in place. If I do it locally, I have to run a bunch of Python scripts, link APIs. I will have to purchase subscriptions to specific tools, AI commodities, let's call them. So, you know, I might have to get an API key from Google, and then I might have to get an API key from Seed Dance. Those will be two separate subscriptions on top of this subscription, and you have to go through Python to make the links. You have to set it all up, and a lot of the time it fails, and there's a lot of troubleshooting involved, and that's fine. I'm not wanting to go down that road for the reasons I explained, so I'm going to go with the cloud-based version. For now, I'm going to go with the InVideo subscription, which I'll activate sometime this month. I mean, maybe I'll play with it today, tomorrow, and I'm just going to keep recording things as I kind of just work now, because I might as well just do this as a workflow update. I was hoping to do live streams at some point, but at the moment I don't think I'm up at the hour that my main audience are. I think my main audience log in or watch my stuff at around 1 o'clock. That's what the metrics tell me. Alrighty, well, I mean, I might as well just sort of start getting into it since I've got a bit of time and I'm here on video now anyway. So, I haven't quite subscribed yet. It's asking me if I want to upgrade. It says here, introducing the agent mode. I'm only just looking into this now without the subscription, just to familiarize myself with the UI, see what it's all about, see what it features. I think there was a mention of it producing a bit of a, call it a production Bible, as you construct your project, as you go through the agent. You have the agent actually build the project Bible for you as it goes along, which is something that I was doing when I was in Claude back in an earlier video. So Agent 1, go back and forth with an agent to create your dream creative. Plan a script, storyboard, or video. So I guess this is the main interface where you can have a conversation with it and start the ideation process. I have created some assets already for a short that I was thinking about doing. I still have some time with Higgsfield to be able to keep bubbling away on my animation. And this, I think, is going to be a good test for the short that I've got for the next little mythology story that I'm working on. So let's have a look at what else we see on the front page. We have agent models. They offer Seed Dance 2.0. What's Vision? 1 sentence, 9 shots, your entire story. Dynamic captions, cinematic text in 1 click. Okay, that's sort of for socials. Nano Banana. Yep, we're aware of Nano Banana. Advertising studio, so for commercials. Camera controls, filmmaking tools, dolly out, that kind of stuff. That's interesting. Oh, that reminded me, sorry, I was meant to show you what I was going for in Higgsfield here. So, yeah, see, I fall off the path every now and then. Yeah, sorry, so coming back to this before I get distracted, as you can tell, I get a little bit scattered here. So, what I wanted to do was I wanted to establish a wide action and have the camera come in, and I was experimenting with 2 kinds of cameras. It's sort of my first prompt, as I said, your first prompt's always going to be your worst prompt. So the first prompt was kind of bring us into the fight. The human mech, let's call him, he was not meant to actually be featured in the scene, but because I was doing it through Nano Banana to produce a style frame, I wanted to sort of see stylistically how this battle would look. And as a style frame, it's cool. The problem is that the style frame is also what the model latches onto. And what I got was something called a Peter Jackson camera. So if you ever watch Lord of the Rings, you'll see these very, I'm going to call them unrealistic. I'm not saying that they're bad. I've got a friend who thinks they're horrible, and he hates that. But essentially, it's a CG camera. So it's a camera that it's not a physically mounted helicopter or drone or or it's not a physical kind of crane or an arm. And what it does is it's a camera that can go from an epic environment right through a window, go inside of an object or through a keyhole and reveal something. You know, it's an impractical camera. But again, he uses it, Peter, he uses it to great effect because it's just a style that he's adopted, and everyone loves The Lord of the Rings and no one really questioned it. But a couple of people in the industry dislike it. I tried some of these in Sora. I think there's a Sora Pro Max. Let's see what this one. Let's see what this one looks like. Yeah, not very interesting for me. I mean, it's got a couple of look. Yeah, not particularly impressed with that. What does this one look like? This is the wide. So I used the tail portion of that only a little bit, with the human mech kind of coming out and slamming into this guy. I didn't have him fall because I didn't want to insinuate that that's the battle over. Plus, in the context of it, the tentacles actually have wrapped themselves around some of the human soldiers, and it was going to fling them into trees. I might still come back to that, but for the time being, for the high kinetic montage, it's working fine. I think I used a little bit of this. So here, this is an interesting evolution of cameras, right? So the first camera which I used C-Dance for, this is, yeah, this is the kind of, we're traveling in, and what I asked for was something called a Steadicam shot. So it's a person holding a pole which is strapped in, or not a pole, it's more like a hook sometimes that comes over the head or over the shoulders of a camera operator. There's a very heavy rig, and this person's got to run around with an extremely heavy camera. And what it does is it stabilizes it, so it gives it smooth motion as the person runs around. There's a brilliant one shot, a one-er, from a movie called Children of Men by Alfonso Cuarón. And I can't remember how many minutes long the shot is, but it goes from inside a building, goes down some stairs, past some soldiers. There's a war going on in the streets. I think there's mass protests. There's tanks rolling and all that kind of stuff. This person goes down through this block, this residential block that's completely ruined. It's very post-apocalyptic, and goes out onto the street where people are shooting, and you know, this guy with this woman and a baby are trying to basically make their way through this extremely dangerous riot situation. Brilliant shot, and that's what they call a one-er, where you have a single camera traveling through a number of different situations and scenarios. Very long shot in one, no cuts. So I wanted a one-er that brought us into the battle. The alien mech blows up a tank, and we pan onto the mech mid-fight. It's getting shot at. It grabs a bunch of soldiers. But that was very difficult for the model to comprehend and get as a result. So what I said was, okay, we'll do the Steadicam. No, that's right. So this is the one that I think I ended up using. And as you can see, because it's got so many moving parts, so many things going on, and possibly because, was I using the style frame for this one? I don't think I was. Maybe no. So, but because there are so many moving parts and so many things going on in the scene, you'll see that the model really struggled to animate every single one. And I don't know if that's a limitation of the prompt that I gave it, that I didn't say in the background, X is doing this to Y, in the midground, this tank is doing this, in the foreground, this is happening. But essentially what I ended up settling on was I asked for not a Steadicam, which is the heavy thing mounted onto someone's back. I asked for a handheld camera. And what I wanted was to put that handheld camera in the middle of the action. I wanted to do a shot that feels like we're inside the battle, visceral. It brings us into the danger. It makes us feel it more. And what I wanted it to do was pan over from the fight to a tank exploding, pan back over to the alien mech that explodes it, and this is what it sort of came up with. And I only linger on this for a very, very short amount of time because essentially it's rendered stills. See, like nothing's actually moving. The tank's got a bit of wobble, explosion, move to this guy and he picks up the soldiers. That's going to be such a quick moment in the edit that then I can cut away to that mech flying over and kicking the thing in the head. Then I started playing with aerials and I'm getting a lot of failed renders, or these are just renders that are hung. They're not really producing anything. I was going to go for something that's within the visor of the soldier in the airplane in the cockpit. It struggled for some reason. I don't know if it was something in the prompt, but I'm going to do it as an over shoulder, something a little bit more like this. You know, what I actually want is for the jet to be flying through an explosion, reveals through the explosion, and there's this giant alien attack ship with its tentacles coming at screen. The plane barrel rolls through the tentacles and avoids getting snatched out of the air. And that's something that's probably going to need to happen in a couple of shots. The explosion, the style frame is not correct. It's the explosion would more realistically be in one of the jets getting taken out. And maybe this is part of the process of just trying to figure out the shot. So that's enough about that. We'll come back to InVideo and continue looking at stuff here. So let's see, we've got generative models, seed dance fast. I'm not using fast too much. Seed dance 2.0, cling video. Interestingly enough, that little silhouette, that's a Steadicam. He's got the stabilization rig on the top and he's holding the camera down here. He can lift it up to his face level. So that's kind of a coincidence that there's a picture of a Steadicam there and I just literally spoke about it. Kling, Omni, probably not going to use that too much. As I said, I think I've figured out that for the most part I'm going to be using VO 3.1 and I'm going to be using Seed Dance 2.0 as my stunts. So it's good to see that VO 3.1 is here. Good to see that Seed Dance 2.0 is here. Sora 2 Pro, I think it's sort of commercial stuff. I'm going to test a couple maybe, but for the time being, I'm really not too keen on branching out into other models. I've tested the models enough to know where my interests are and what's producing the best results for the stuff that I'm doing for now. Let's see, I don't know what Happy Horse is, Dream Actor, motion control, driven stuff, Pixverse. I might have to watch a few videos on what these other models are tailored for and figure out whether it's going to be of any use. Like what is fit for purpose. Like I see a lot of these thumbnails look really nice and impressive, but once you actually try to generate something for your specific needs, it's luck of the draw. It may work, it may not. It's a bit of a roulette and it's a waste of credits in my opinion. So I just stick with what I know at the moment. But it looks like they're linked to a lot of different models, which is good. Then the library, I assume, is your project library, your album. So I guess, yeah, this is where your images, videos, and audios go. Exploring. So these look like commercial projects and things that other creators have done with InVideo. And then there's you. So there's a picture of me, my workspace. I guess you can collaborate and add members. There's your subscription, how much you've used, settings, create AI video, start from scratch. That's interesting. Pick up where you left off your last visit. That's interesting. Have I been here 2 years ago? Have I played with this 2 years ago? Crazy. I was surprised to see The Witch's Pursuit because I was doing a storytelling class and it was a work organized thing and it was a really good exercise. Actually, I learned a lot. And interestingly enough, I wrote a script for a chase sequence that I was I like The Witcher. And I actually have a script for a chase sequence using The Witcher. Obviously, it was just for educational purposes, and I can't use The Witcher as an IP because it's all protected and there's legals involved. But the chase itself is viable, and I could always adapt the characters. That's crazy that I was in here once. I can't remember why or how I would have found InVideo all the way back 2 years ago. Anyway, I guess I was sort of looking into this before. Going back to the home, then there's this thing called autopilot. Create a video in one shot, give a detailed brief, and get a video of up to 30 minutes long. Okay, and this is version 4. AI twins, create a UGC, create UGC ads, product ads, create AI shorts. Yeah, I think that's what I'm going to be using this for, as a means of just keeping the algorithm fed, but also learning whether this is actually going to be useful for me in my pursuit of creating stuff and exploring tools and giving you guys an idea of how stuff works, or how I'm using them at least. I mean, I'm not the be-all end-all expert in AI generative models, but I'm learning like we all are, and we're slowly fumbling our way through these things. So what I'm going to do, I might as well kind of start going through my process. Yeah, I have this Golem project, which was one of the suggestions that I had for a weekly Google Flow challenge. The topic was melt, and in a previous video I discussed how I arrived at the decision to make the Golem project, or Icarus for that matter as well. Icarus isn't getting too many views, but it is getting a lot of good feedback, which is nice. I'm quite happy with it. I admittedly rushed the end of it, but I had a few practical reasons and issues for why I sort of made a quick little intercut and just sort of finished it there. So I had a bit of a conversation with the AI about whether InVideo versus Higgsfield would be better for me, particularly since my time is limited. The consensus was that it's good if I don't have much time, because it uses the agentic workflow to automate a lot of the process. It's bad because I won't get the granular shots and specific cameras that I ask for. So I'm sacrificing control and handing that over to an agent, which may or may not interpret my intentions. It may just give me generic results. In other words, not slop, but not really fully thought out, if that makes sense. I'm not really sure that I'm explaining that very well. But if we go to the deep research, I've got all the deep research. Again, this is the style book. This is the research that I asked it to do. Here, I think this is where I actually started production on generating the assets. I do have a script, and it's only a few lines of voiceover. I don't really want to get into too much dialogue-driven stuff or performance-driven stuff. I know that Google VO 3.1 will do a really good job of that. So I have the script here, and again, I'm trying to be true to language. There's a certain amount of cultural sensitivity that I have to observe, especially when dealing with things that I am researching and wanting to bring into the world. I have to be just a little bit aware of, what is considered offensive or sensitive. I have to just tread a little bit delicately, and that goes for any story or mythology. And hoping to preserve the truth or the accuracy of those stories. And so I'm going to try to do it in language. The same way that I did with the story of Icarus, even though it wasn't in Greek, since it's a Greek story. I did that one in Latin because that was the more famous version of the story. So I have my locked script. So these are things that are going to go into InVideo, and then I have a few character concepts that I have created in Higgsfield using Nano Banana. So I tried Soul Cinema to create some of the character looks, and interestingly enough, I think that one, Higgsfield Soul 2.0, did a beautiful rendering of one of the characters, but it sort of fell over on on the golem itself, the clay creature. I think some of the original concepts were like, "Ooh, what is that?" There you go. I mean, that looks like, what was it? There was a Hulk movie with a really crazy looking Hulk baddie who just looks like the Hulk on roids. Yeah, that one just looks a little bit odd. I mean, that could be him coming out of the clay, maybe. But it wasn't really getting the language and the letters right. And later on, actually, for some of the later renders, when I moved to Nano Banana Pro, there was a much stronger and stricter adherence to the actual language. I have downloaded these assets, so these are assets that can go into InVideo. So coming back to InVideo, what I'm thinking actually is, I think the more logical choice for me right now is I'm going to jump onto this once I've done more in Higgsfield and once I've used up more of my credits, because I still have a lot of credits in Higgsfield, and it just sort of makes sense that while I can, I'm just going to burn those credits until my plan runs out, and then I'll switch to this. So there are a couple of things in Higgsfield that I'm still curious about. Maybe if I still have quite a lot of credits left over before my billing cycle terminates my monthly subscription, I might burn a few experimental credits on Supercomputer. I know that I'm going to have to say goodbye to my DaVinci Resolve plugin, which is not as good as the Adobe Premiere Pro one at the moment, but I'm hoping that they make a better one for DaVinci Resolve. Actually, there is something that I can play with here. Is I had a think about just filming myself on my street in London. And I did a couple of shots, like an establisher. And what I want to do with these shots, I just did a little zoom there as an experiment just to see how does the AI interpret a little zoom. And I don't know whether that's usable even. It's going to be weird for that. Yeah, so I picked it up again as a second shot, and those people are going to have to get removed. I was running like a mad lunatic through the streets here. I think there were some people looking at me saying, "Who is that idiot in the street running like a maniac with his phone camera filming nothing?" And then I filmed myself running away. So what I'm gonna try to do is essentially I want to see through Higgsfield whether I can change the environment. You know, have the sky turn red. I don't know about rain yet, and then have a bunch of demon dogs turning a corner here, which is what this is going to be. Again, I couldn't film myself. I just had this idea of, oh, this is an experiment that I want to do. This is a thing that I want to try. So there's going to be a bunch of Hellhounds, let's call them. That shot may need to come before this one or intercut somehow. I might end up using this one, or I could intercut between, you know, have a little bit of this and then cut into, you know, them sort of running down the footpath. It's going to look weird without someone running away from them. But what I am going to do, and I've made sure also, oh, actually, sorry, I'm looking at the wrong thing. So up here, you can see this is, what I've done is I've tried to keep the videos to the exact duration that the model can take. So this one's 4 seconds. This one is 6 seconds. This one is 4 seconds. This one is 6 seconds. This one is 6 seconds, 4 seconds. because I know that the models take a minimum of 4 seconds, maximum of 16, depending on the model, or 15. So why don't we just park the InVideo thing for now, because I know that I've still got my Higgsfield subscription at least until the end of the billing cycle. I think I've got another 10 or maybe more days, because I can't remember what day exactly my billing cycle refreshes. So I'll see what I can do here now with putting some demon dogs into this street and see if I can have them animated to chase me down the street. And again, I had to position the cameras is just my phone. I just positioned it wherever I could, because I couldn't use the corner of my door because a dog had peed on it. So I didn't want to put my phone in a puddle of pee. Funnily enough, it's about demon dogs. So let's have a look here and see what one of my little experiments was going to be. I don't know if I do this in Cinema Studio. If I say new project, want to work with your team, no. I'm going to call this Hellhounds. Let's create. Nothing yet. Cinema Studio, go away. Elements, canvas, chat, AI director, is it? How can I help you today? Pick a camera, set up my look, write a prompt, break down my scene. Cinema Studio 3.5, camera selection, style presets, references, videos and images. I'm not sure what the best tool is. I think Cinema Studio, or is there another one? Cinema Studio, Marketing Studio, Collab, plugins, apps. What do apps do? So I wanted to test Cinema Studio, so I think it's Cinema Studio. If I go to, what happened to Hellhounds? Getting started. Add folder. Describe your scene. Use @ to add characters and locations. So let's create the Hellhounds. This is something that would be good to test in Google Omni, since it's meant to be an Omni model that takes videos and images. So I might do a test in Google Omni as well to see how it looks. Okay, so I'm going to start this in Google Flow. I've only got 800 credits here. So let's call, and I'm predominantly going to use this for creating the Hellhounds first, the look of the Hellhounds, and I'll use the agent for it. And then at least I have used whatever remaining credits I have for free Nano Banana generations that I can then port over to Cinema Studio in Higgsfield. So we'll call it Hellhounds. And with any remaining credits that I have, I think what I'm going to do is I'll try doing 1 or 2 of the shots or whatever I can in Google Omni just to see if it works. It may reject them because I'm in a shot running. I'll try to get the one of me running. Describe the image you have in mind. Okay, so I've just written actually we'll create one at a time for a test. I want a triptych character style sheet on grey background, must look photo real, of a large dog based on the Greek gatekeeper Cerberus. Must look ugly, rancid, like a creature of the underworld. And I will be adding this creature into a recorded video footage that I have filmed on my phone. Yeah, cool. Let's go with that. mean, that looks positively hellish. I'm a little concerned. He does feel a little bit CG. If I zoom in, he doesn't really look photorealistic, and that might be something that I can ask it to do. So yeah, I guess I'm having to correct it a little bit because I like it, and what I've written here is, but it feels a little bit CGI or 3D. I really need the Hellhounds to be a photorealistic creature. Also needs to be triptych character style sheet, so front, profile or 3/4, and a rear angle on simple grey background, no text, no panels. Okay, so this one's better. Kind of not what I asked for because it's still done panels. It could just be the size of the creature itself. The problem is that it's cut off the tail here, so if it ends up using any of this information, it's going to hallucinate a little bit because it's missing the ankle and it's missing the tail and the 3/4. Might be okay, but so let's fix this up. I don't want dividers or panels. Also 3/4 image cuts off his ankle and tail. I need a full body front, 3/4 rear angle in a triptych character style sheet on simple grey background. It is a bit annoying that it can't kind of, like it adheres to your prompt so strictly that it can't figure out when it's making a mistake. It's doing what you ask it to, but it's a bit disappointing that it can't kind of infer what I, do what I think, not what I say. Okay, I think we can kind of proceed with that. It's got a little bit of motion blur on the tail here, it looks like, maybe. Or is that just low quality? That's fine. It's still put dividers in there, which I'm not fond of, but whatever. I think that's fine. So because I'm using the agent here, and I'm going to try to do this through the agent, I don't know what my best course of action is. That actually looks terrible. I don't know why it looks like that. I think the original looked better. I'm going to remove the LUTs because the references that I tried to apply a LUT to make it less bright, but I think that that's a problem. So I'm going to remove the LUTs. So we'll try this one of me getting chased by the dog. I'm doing this for science. How many credits have I got left? Oh, weird. I've still got 800. I wonder why that is. I thought creating with Nano Banana here would cost me money, but apparently not. Maybe I just do all my Nano Banana generations here from now on and not use other services. If that gives me free gens on Nano Banana, then I'm quite happy. The other problem is with the plan that I'm on, I downgraded from Ultra to AI Pro, so it does render a watermark, but it's just a test. Okay, I guess test possibly failed because it didn't want to accept my video. What if I try another one without me in it? So that's a 4-second video with one person coming in the end. We'll see if we can do something like that. We'll see if we can do something with this one in turning the sky red or something, just as an establisher. Okay, so it looks like it's loaded an empty plate. So that's a bit of a problem if I can't put myself into it without maybe doing an @me using an avatar, which looks like it's possible. It's been unlocked potentially in a geo lock based on my location being in the UK. So I'm going to add to prompt. So here's my prompt. So this is my first establishing shot. So I want this shot to have the sky turn red with the sky turn red with fire and lightning, as if a dimension of hell is forming or arriving in my street. Maybe throw in some hints of Cthulhu within the cloud mass above, hinting of some monstrosity in the sky. Let's see what it does. I probably should have included some atmospherics like the buildings turn red, but we'll just see what it does. Would you like me to kick this off in one video generation costing 20 credits? So let's make sure the ambient lighting and environment also matches the change in the sky. Failed. Editing uploaded video isn't available in your region right now. Please try editing a different... Okay. Going back to Higgsfield. But I do have my Hellhounds, so we'll grab him. Okay, so I've added my Hellhound Cerberus to the prompts. It says describe your scene. I guess I need to upload my video as well. Okay, so it hasn't shown up in the library, but it is added to my prompt, which I'll paste from what I had before. Generate for 20, see what happens. This is using Cinema Studio 3.5. Oh, I shouldn't have put in the dog, but it's all right. Oh, and there's different genres here, so I might run another one with the genre and see if I can find a style and camera for it. Okay. So it looks like it's done something here. Like it sort of turns it red a little late. Like if it starts doing that from the beginning, it should be red already. So I might have to do a post grade on it. But we'll continue the test and we'll play with the genre settings as well. So if we go to horror, let's have a look at style, color palette. Ooh, naturalistic, bleached warm, hyper neon, teal, sodium, cold, bleach bypass. No, none of those. What is this? Lighting, soft. Particles, maybe. Let's try particles. What have we got for camera move style set? Classic, static, silent machine, one take, epic scale, intimate observer, impossible camera. That's kind of interesting. Maybe this is something that could be applied to the anime stuff that I'm doing. Raw chaos. I mean, it's interesting. It gives you some camera styles, but I'm going to set it to automatic because I'm using a video reference. So I've set it to horror. I guess my next video then, we'll see if we can get the dog chasing me down the street. Okay, so I got a not eligible thing here, so I'm going to have to sort of leave it there, unfortunately. So my test has failed, non-eligible. It's very disappointing because my hope would have been that at least for this, that you would be able to do a shot, or that you would be able to go to the park with your friends or just film something like I have and do a short movie with a visual effects sort of budget, fairly cheap. Maybe what we can do is we can try one more test of that panning shot that I had around the corner of the street. Yeah, so my hope would have been that for a low budget filmmaker that you could go to the park or some location and film, you know, some of your friends playing around in the park doing something and add some visual effects on the cheap, but I don't think that that's possible for whatever reason. Maybe I'm using the wrong tool, but it's a bit disappointing just in general. Short filmmakers would love to be able to do this sort of thing. Instead of having to do everything through generative AI, you could potentially one day, maybe, fingers crossed, the future would be that you could just film your friends, make a short film, have some fun. I don't know how people are doing it at the moment. I need to look into it more. Let's see if this works. Okay, so it's added that shot. So I forgot to add video one as one of the reference tags, but can we add the Hellhound from image 1 in a rabid frenzy, barking and drooling acid spit that sizzles on the ground? The sky is a mass of hellish hellig. Fiery clouds like a dimension of hell has arrived. The environment should be graded to match the look of the red hell atmosphere. The Hellhound is coming down the street, turning the corner as the camera pans and continues to run along the footpath away from camera. Its paws leaving flaming paw prints in the street as it runs. And I'll fix up my typos. Okay, so this one looks like it's made up something. Not particularly impressed with that. I want it to adhere to my camera. And there's a consistency problem with the look of the hell clouds and all that sort of stuff, and the thunder, the lightning looks a bit shit. There's a sunset in the background. It's not the same red color. It's more of an orange. Maybe that's because I set it to horror style, not sure. Also, he looks a bit CGI there. This one looks more promising, but again, different kind of sky, so I'd have to fix one of these. Maybe I'll rerun the prompt with a new style thing, but it's a bit, the animation's a bit dumb. It's very trotty, it's not very, his heads should be moving, barking, slathering, all that kind of stuff. It just feels like a horse trotting. It's not really like a frantic, frenzied, hellish dog. And he still feels very CGI, despite the fact. So I don't know if there's a different tool that I can use. Maybe I can use something like, can I use an Omni tool? Like if we use Seed Dance 2, let's go to Seed Dance 2. Okay, so Seed Dance just did a straight pan left to right. It didn't really stick to or adhere to the camera move at all. I'm going to call this test a fail. I could try it in Kling Omni, but I just, its animation's pretty average as well. It's not very good. So that's a bust, I think, for the time being. I don't know if there's any other tools that I can try this in. Like, I don't know how someone could do this. So I'm going to call that test a fail. I'm going to leave it there for now. So I hope that you've found this useful in some way. I'm sorry that I jumped around so much and sort of went over so many random things, but I wanted to leave you with something of use at least. Maybe this has been helpful. Okay, see you later, bye.